The security footage would later show the exact moment Marcus Wellington's life changed forever, 11:47 p.m. on a freezing November night, when he found a teenage girl barely conscious in the alley behind his Fifth Avenue hotel. What nobody knew then was that this chance encounter would expose one of New York's darkest secrets and transform an entire empire. Hey everyone, before we dive deeper into this incredible story, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. And if you love stories about second chances and unexpected heroes, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. Marcus Wellington hadn't personally inspected his properties in years. At 73, the real estate mogul had armies of managers to handle such mundane tasks. But insomnia had driven him from his penthouse that November evening, and old habits pulled him toward the Wellington Grand, his flagship hotel in Manhattan. He almost didn't see her. A pile of cardboard boxes shifted near the service entrance, and Marcus caught a glimpse of purple. A shoe, he realized. A child's shoe. Jesus Christ, he muttered, his breath fogging in the cold air. He moved closer, his Italian leather shoes crunching on broken glass. She was maybe 16, 17 at most. Her dark hair was matted, her face pale as death. She wore a thin jacket that looked like it had come from a donation bin, and her lips had taken on a bluish tint. Marcus didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees, something his orthopedic surgeon would have scolded him for, and pressed 2 fingers to her neck. There. A pulse. Weak, but present. Call 911, he shouted to Thomas, his driver, who'd been idling at the curb. Now! The girl's eyes fluttered open. They were remarkable, green as spring grass, and filled with a terror that hit Marcus like a physical blow. Please, she whispered. Don't call the police. Please. You need a hospital, Marcus said firmly. No. She tried to sit up, panic giving her sudden strength. You don't understand. They'll find me. He'll find me. Marcus had built his empire on reading people, on knowing when someone was running a con. This girl wasn't lying. She was genuinely terrified. Who will find you? Please, she begged. And then her eyes rolled back and she went limp. Marcus made a decision that would have seemed insane to anyone who knew him. Instead of waiting for the ambulance, he had Thomas help him get the girl into his car. Instead of going to a hospital, he took her to his penthouse and called Dr. Sarah Chun, his personal physician. Marcus, this is highly irregular, Dr. Chun said as she set up in 4 in the guest bedroom 2 hours later. This girl needs to be in a hospital, and we should report this. She's terrified of something, Marcus said. Someone. Give me 48 hours to figure out what's going on. Dr. Chun pursed her lips. Hypothermia, malnutrition, dehydration. She's also covered in bruises, some fresh, some weeks old. Marcus, this looks like abuse, which is exactly why I'm not handing her over to a system that might send her right back to her abuser, Marcus said quietly. The girl, she'd mumbled her name was Emma Rodriguez, slept for nearly 20 hours. When she finally woke, Marcus was sitting in the armchair by the window, reading the Wall Street Journal. Where am I? Her voice was hoarse. My home. You're safe. Dr. Chun says you'll recover, but you need rest and food. He set down his paper. I'm Marcus Wellington, and before you panic, no. I haven't called the police, social services, or anyone else. Not yet. Emma's eyes darted around the room, taking in the luxury that surrounded her. Why? Because you begged me not to, and because I've learned to trust my instincts about people. He leaned forward. But here's what's going to happen, Emma. You're going to tell me the truth. All of it. Who you're running from, what happened, and then we're going to figure out how to fix it. You can't fix this, she said bitterly. Nobody can. Try me. I've been fixing impossible problems for 50 years. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she began to talk. The story that emerged over the next few days was worse than Marcus had imagined. Emma had grown up in foster care after her mother died of cancer when she was 9. Her father was unknown. Her mother had never disclosed his identity. For years, Emma bounced between homes, never quite fitting in anywhere. Then, at 14, she'd been placed with the Carters, Daniel and Patricia Carter in White Plains. They seemed perfect. A beautiful home, successful careers, involvement in their church community. They were good at hiding it, Emma said quietly, staring at her hands. The first few months were normal. Then Patricia started getting mean. Little comments at first. About my weight, my grades, how ungrateful I was. The verbal abuse had escalated to physical. But it wasn't until Daniel Carter started coming to her room at night that Emma realized how trapped she was. I told my caseworker, Emma said, her voice breaking. I told Ms. Peterson everything. She said she'd investigate. 2 days later, she closed my case. Said I was making up stories for attention. That the Carters were upstanding citizens and I should be grateful. She'd run away 3 weeks ago, living on the streets, terrified that foster services would drag her back to the Carters. Marcus felt a rage he hadn't experienced in decades. This caseworker, Ms. Peterson, you're certain she knew? She knew. She just didn't care. Or, Emma hesitated. I heard them talking once, the Carters. Something about donations to the right people, making sure things stayed quiet. Buying protection, Marcus said grimly. What's the caseworker's full name? Rebecca Peterson. She works for the New York State Office of Children and Family Services. Marcus made a call. James, he said when his head of security answered. I need a complete background check. Rebecca Peterson, OCFS. And a couple named Daniel and Patricia Carter in White Plains. I want everything: financial records, property holdings, charitable donations, parking tickets. Everything. How soon? James asked. As soon as possible. What Marcus's team uncovered over the next week was staggering. The Carters weren't just abusers, they were part of a systematic scheme. Over the past 8 years, they'd fostered 17 children, each placement lasting just long enough to collect substantial monthly stipends and tax benefits before the children were either returned to the system or aged out. But it went deeper. Rebecca Peterson had placed every single one of those children, and she'd received consulting fees from a shell company owned by Daniel Carter. Over $200,000 in the past 5 years. It's not just them, James reported, spreading documents across Marcus's dining table, while Emma attended her first virtual tutoring session in the next room. Peterson is connected to at least 12 other foster families with similar patterns. We're looking at potential systemic corruption involving hundreds of kids and millions in fraudulent benefits. Marcus stared at the evidence, his mind racing. Get me Jennifer Blackwell at the AG's office. And contact Barbara Chun at the New York Times. Marcus, his attorney, Richard Hughes, interjected nervously. If you're thinking of going public with this, you need to be careful. These people could come after Emma for defamation or worse. And if they have connections, then we make sure we have everything documented so thoroughly that they can't wriggle out, Marcus said firmly. That girl has been failed by every system meant to protect her. Not again. Not on my watch. Over the next 2 months, Marcus did something he'd never done before. He made a case about more than money. He poured resources into the investigation. He hired a team of lawyers to represent Emma pro bono. He funded an independent investigation into foster care corruption in New York State. And he got to know Emma. She was brilliant, a straight-A student before everything fell apart, with a particular gift for mathematics. She devoured books, taught herself coding from YouTube videos during her time in various homes, and had a dry sense of humor that reminded Marcus of his late wife, Catherine. Why are you doing this? Emma asked one evening as they shared dinner, something that had become a ritual. Marcus had discovered that Emma made surprisingly good spaghetti carbonara. Because it's right, Marcus said simply. Nobody does something this big just because it's right, especially not billionaires. She said it without malice, just observation. Marcus smiled. My wife Catherine used to volunteer at a children's hospital. For years, I thought it was a waste of her time. She could have been at galas, building connections, helping my business. Then one day, I went to pick her up and saw her reading to a little boy with leukemia. The way he looked at her. He cleared his throat. She told me that night that money was just paper unless you used it to make something matter. I didn't really understand then. I was too busy building my empire. Do you understand now? I'm starting to. He met her eyes. She died 6 years ago. Cancer like your mother. And I realized I'd built something enormous but mostly empty. I have hotels and buildings all over the world, Emma, but I don't have anyone to share them with. My son died in a car accident when he was in college. I have a daughter, Victoria, but we haven't spoken in 5 years. She said I cared more about business than family. She wasn't wrong. That's sad, Emma said quietly. It is, but maybe it's not too late to change some things. The story broke in February. The New York Times ran a front-page exposé, betrayed corruption and abuse in New York's foster care system. Emma's story, corroborated by documents and testimony from 6 other former foster children Marcus's team had found, sparked outrage. Rebecca Peterson was arrested. The Carters fled to their vacation home in Florida, but were extradited within a week. The investigation expanded to involve the FBI. But it wasn't just about punishment. Marcus funded a complete overhaul initiative. He established the Catherine Wellington Foundation for Foster Care Reform, endowing it with $500 million. He partnered with child welfare experts to create new oversight mechanisms, better training for caseworkers, and direct support for foster children. Emma, meanwhile, bloomed. With stability, therapy, and encouragement, she'd enrolled in an online high school program and was already taking college-level courses. She'd even started speaking publicly about her experiences, becoming an unexpected advocate for reform. "You're good at this," Marcus told her after she'd given testimony to a state legislative committee. "You could change a lot of lives." "I want to," Emma said. "I keep thinking about all those other kids. The ones who didn't get lucky enough to collapse behind a billionaire's hotel." Marcus laughed, something he found himself doing more often these days. "You make it sound like you won the lottery. Didn't I?" "No," he said seriously. "You survived. You were brave enough to keep going when everything was stacked against you. I just opened some doors. You're the one walking through them." In May, Marcus had his annual physical. Dr. Chun delivered news he'd been half expecting for months. "The cancer's back, Marcus. Pancreatic, stage 4. We can try treatment, but at this point we're talking about months, not years." He took the news calmly. He was 73, had lived a full life, and had made his peace with mortality when Catherine died. But now there was Emma to consider. He called his attorney that evening. "Richard, I need to update my will." "Of course. What changes?" "All of it," Marcus said. "I'm leaving controlling interest in Wellington Enterprises to Emma Rodriguez." There was a long silence. "Marcus, she's 17 years old. She'll be 18 in 3 months. Set up a trust that gives her access gradually. Full control by 25. In the meantime, the board can continue operations, but she has final say on major decisions. She'll have advisors, resources, training. But it's her empire now. Victoria will contest this," Richard warned. "Let her. Victoria made her choice. She wanted nothing to do with me or the business. She's already received her inheritance in the form of stock and properties worth over $200 million. She'll be fine. But Emma will do something meaningful with this. I know she will." Marcus didn't tell Emma about the cancer. Not yet. They had time, and he wanted to spend it teaching her, not mourning. That summer, he began her real education, not in business school tactics, but in the philosophy of building something that mattered. "Every building I own has a story," he told her as they toured the Wellington Grand. "But for years, I only cared about the profit margins. I forgot that real estate isn't just about property. It's about creating spaces where people's lives happen. Weddings, business deals, reconciliations, celebrations." That front desk clerk, Miguel? His daughter just graduated from college, first in their family. The head chef, Jennifer? She's a refugee from Syria who built a new life here. These aren't just employees, Emma. They're people whose lives intersect with ours. Emma absorbed everything. She asked questions Marcus had never considered. What percentage of employees earned living wages? What was the environmental impact of their properties? How could they create more affordable housing without sacrificing quality? You're going to be better at this than I ever was, Marcus told her one evening. I doubt that. You built something from nothing. I built with ruthlessness and ambition. You'll build with vision and heart. That's the difference. In September, Emma turned 18. Marcus threw her a party at the Wellington Grand, her first real birthday celebration in years. Former foster children she'd helped through the foundation attended. Child welfare advocates. Even a few legislators who'd championed the reform bills Emma had testified for. Victoria showed up uninvited. I need to speak with you, she told Marcus coldly, ignoring Emma entirely. Privately. In his office, Victoria didn't waste time. I know what you're planning. Richard's assistant is an old friend. You're giving everything to that girl. Some random foster kid you picked up off the street. Her name is Emma, and she's not random. She's brilliant, compassionate, and brave. Everything I should have valued more when I was building all of this. She's a stranger. Victoria's voice rose. I'm your daughter. You're my daughter who hasn't spoken to me in 5 years, Marcus said quietly. Who told me I was dead to you? Who wanted nothing to do with me or this business? I respected your choice, Victoria. I gave you your inheritance. But I won't let this empire go to someone who's made it clear they don't want it. So you're giving it to your new pet project instead? Your redemption arc. Marcus felt a surge of anger. Emma is not a project. She's a person who was failed by every system, every adult who should have protected her. And yes, she's become like family to me. Something I wish I'd done better with my actual family. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. You never cared about us. Only your buildings, your deals, your legacy. You're right, Marcus admitted, surprising her. For too long I didn't, and I can't change the past. But I can try to do better now. The question is, do you want to be part of that? Actually part of it, not just collecting dividends. She stared at him, then turned and left without another word. By October, Marcus couldn't hide his illness anymore. He'd lost weight, fatigued easily, and Emma was too observant to miss the signs. How long have you known? She asked when he finally told her. Since May. And you didn't tell me? Her voice cracked. I wanted to teach you everything I could first. I wanted our time together to be about living, not dying. Emma was crying now, and Marcus pulled her into a hug, something that still felt awkward for him but necessary. You saved my life, she whispered. You gave me everything. You saved mine too, he said. You reminded me what actually matters. And Emma, there's something I need to tell you. Something important. He explained about the will, the trust, the empire she would inherit. Emma pulled back, shocked. Marcus, I can't. That's insane. I don't know how to run a billion-dollar company. Neither did I when I started. But you'll learn. You're smarter than I was, kinder than I was, and you actually care about more than profit margins. You'll have the best advisors money can buy, including Richard, James, and Dr. Chun. Yes, I've convinced her to join the foundation board. But Emma, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Don't just maintain what I built. Transform it. Make Wellington Enterprises about more than money. Create affordable housing. Prioritize sustainable development. Take care of the people who work for you. Use this empire to change the world, the way you're already starting to with the foundation. I don't know if I can. I do, Marcus said firmly. I've spent 6 months watching you, teaching you, learning from you. You have something I never had. You know what it's like to have nothing. That perspective will make you extraordinary. Marcus Wellington died on a gray morning in early December, with Emma holding his hand and reading aloud from his favorite book, Catherine's worn copy of The Great Gatsby. The funeral was massive. Dignitaries, business leaders, society figures. But Emma spoke last, and her words were simple. Marcus saved my life, literally and figuratively. He gave me a home, an education, a purpose. But more than that, he taught me that wealth without compassion is meaningless, and that it's never too late to change your legacy. He spent his last months trying to fix the broken systems that failed kids like me. And he trusted me. a homeless girl he found in an alley, with the empire he spent his life building. Not because I earned it, but because he believed I would do something meaningful with it. I promise you, Marcus, I will. I promise. Victoria didn't attend the funeral, but 2 weeks later she called Emma. I want to talk, Victoria said. About the foundation. About the business. About maybe trying to understand what my father saw in you. It wasn't warm, but it was a start. 5 years later, Wellington Enterprises looked very different. Under Emma's leadership, the company had divested from luxury developments that displaced communities and invested heavily in affordable housing initiatives. They'd achieved carbon neutrality across all properties. Employee wages had increased by 40%, with profit-sharing programs that made workers stakeholders. The Catherine Wellington Foundation had expanded nationally, partnering with child welfare agencies in 40 states to reform foster care systems. They'd helped place over 3,000 children in safe, thoroughly vetted homes and provided college scholarships to hundreds of former foster youth. Emma, now 23, had become one of the youngest billionaires in America and one of the most purposeful. She'd hired a team of executives who shared her vision and spent her time between board meetings and advocacy work. She still lived in Marcus's penthouse. She couldn't bring herself to leave. On the anniversary of Marcus's death, Emma stood in his office, now her office, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. A framed photo of Marcus and Catherine sat on her desk, alongside one of her with Marcus from her 18th birthday. Her phone buzzed. Victoria. Hey! Her not-quite sister said, I'm in the city. Coffee?